Hi, how are you today? My name is Mr. Josh Chernos, but you can call me Josh or Mr. Chernos if you feel. My pronouns are he, him, his. Did you find the office good today?
I did. Yeah, it was easy getting here.
So, how are you today?
I'm good. A little, you know, new to therapy, so it's it's a little angsty for me, but um I'm just trying to go into it with a open mind.
So what brings you here in today?
Um, so like you know, I'm just an anxious person, I feel like, but um, I have a close friend that she suggested that maybe I try this out because I've been, I guess, relaying a lot of my troubles onto her, and she's not a therapist, so I'm thinking this. She mentioned this would be good for me, so I'm gonna give it a try.
Before we go any further, I just want to talk about confidentiality.
Okay.
Just so you understand, anything we say in this meeting or whatever you say will be kept between you and I. And if I be looking down a little bit, I'm taking some notes so that way I have some things to go back to in future sessions if you still feel comfortable discussing things with me. Um, so anything I say or what you say will be strictly between us. Nobody will know.
Okay.
The case where I will have to obviously break confidentiality is if I notice any like instances where that you're possibly harm to yourself or to others. Are you comfortable with this?
Mm-hmm.
And then any notes I take, well, I will have in a safe so that
Okay.
if anything were to happen, only me or my supervisor will know anything.
Okay.
Will have access to it. And if in cases of if you're harmed to find assume that you're a harm to yourself or someone else, I will have to talk to my supervisor. But otherwise, anything you say in this meeting will be kept between us.
Okay. Just you and I. That's good to know.
Yeah. I want you to feel comfortable
Okay.
and trust me that I will not discuss any of your personal.
Okay. Thank you.
Um, so on your intake form, it says that you're feeling anxious and worried. Do you possibly want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. Definitely. It's with obviously the pandemic right now, it's everything is just so, you know, mixed up and not normal. But, I'm lucky that I was able to move back to my school and my university. I know some places aren't allowing that, but with like rising cases and everything, especially on campus, I'm kind of anxious and worried about having to go back home and that possibility of just online school there. I just, you know, that I'm really worried about that.
What about being online has made you worry?
Um, I guess it's not necessarily physically being online. I think I could handle classes that way, but it's just the environment at home. I just don't think I would be able to, really thrive in school like that. I'm in a lot of clubs and I do a lot of, activities. So all my free time is here and doing things here. But if I'm at home, I don't think that would be possible.
You talk about like not feeling like being able to do it at home. What aspects of home would make it not as comfortable?
Oh boy. Definitely, it's not like it's a chaotic environment in terms of it being like loud or, unavailable to access to internet or any of that. It's just I feel like mentally I would be so, just preoccupied with my parents especially. Our relationship isn't, the most ideal relationship. So I feel like my thoughts would just be focused on that rather than, like I said, school or my clubs. I try to keep most of my thoughts on those things, keep myself busy with that.
You talk about your relationship with your parents being not as good. Um, do you care to elaborate if you feel comfortable?
Yeah, I can definitely go into that. Um, so my parents are still together, they're married. Um, but and my dad, he's an engineer, and my mom, she's in nursing, so their jobs are just they're super demanding. So even since I was a kid, they've always been there, working all day. So my brother and I, we had to fend. I wouldn't say fend for ourselves, but entertain ourselves, or it was just us usually at the house. So in that aspect, they weren't really around because they were always working, and I appreciate all of that they've done for me financially, and keeping our household, you know, safe in realms of financial wise, but they are, you know, they're not happy with my my path in school, and they're also, you know, they're very religious, and they're very, that was one thing that was consistent, as in, us spending time together. They would always allocate this time for us to like go to church, and always stressing those religious things on me. And I feel like, I don't know, I guess I'm just, that really stresses me out, because I feel like I'm kind of going against some of their beliefs, and I don't want that to impact our relationship at all. I don't want to impact my schooling, because I appreciate it, but they pay for a lot of it financially, and I just don't want to further, I guess, upset them than I already have.
What aspects of have they made you feel like your path wasn't what they wanted you to be in?
Um, so my path is psychology, and you know, they're older, and they don't really, I guess they don't really understand like mental health. It's just not something that was brought up or stressed at all. If you say, like I'm anxious or I'm sad, they just say, just don't be. And you know, they don't really understand that career choice. They don't think it's really a beneficial choice. I guess I'm assuming they probably wanted me to follow along in their footsteps of a more, I guess, hard sciencey, or just a more, you know, baseline sort of career like that. But I took a chance and went out and did what I wanted in that aspect, and they have, um, I guess, expressed disappointment in that, like making little comments here and there about it. So,
What types of comments have they made?
they just ask. My brother is, of course, he's going into engineering like my dad, so he's kind of the, I guess, light there. They mention things about, do what your brother does. He's following after us, or you know, just making fun of my major in psychology, and just wanting to be, a future therapist, because they just don't think that, you know, that's real sort of work, I guess.
So, how does it make you feel when they, compare you to your brother?
Um, I mean, obviously for me, it's just kind of, it's agitating, it's annoying. I mean, it is kind of stress provoking, because I have to feel like I have to work harder in what I'm doing to prove that it is something that's worth it, and it is going to be a good career choice for me. I just, you know, just because they don't understand, I don't think that that should prevent me from wanting to do it, and I'm trying really hard not to let that happen.
Understandable. What brought you to psychology?
Um, well, like I mentioned, I was younger. They never really touched upon that at all. And um, growing up in the church, I realized my views are kind of different than what they're kind of displaying. And I met a friend, and she's, her family's very, open and talks about their feelings and everything. And, I want that for my future family. And I would like to help people who maybe haven't had positive experiences with therapy, or like me, they just haven't, been exposed to it when they were younger.
Ooh, you talk about your friend. When did you meet them?
I met her, um, it's been so long, about high school, beginning of high school. Her name's Olivia.
Um, so what brought you guys together other than, high school?
Well, like I think I mentioned that, since my parents were gone, we had to do a lot of like entertaining myself, and I was just home by myself a lot. And since I was younger, I couldn't really go out and do anything. So I kind of resorted to like internet and, social media. And so I met her just randomly one day on the internet, and, we've been friends since then. She does live several states away, but, we're still connected over messaging, and we still have been.
Good. In terms of your, have you ever guys talked about meeting in person?
Um, we have, but that's not, I would love to go see her and, actually make that connection in person. But the thought of, I don't know, bringing it up to my parents, I guess, since I don't work, and I don't, they supply me financially. I don't know how I would bring that up to them, and I wouldn't, I don't want them, asking questions about our relationship or any of that, because, it's just stressful for me. So I try to veer away from that sort of conversation with Olivia, but, you know, she's constantly bringing that up with me.
So you talk about you're feeling stressed out, is what I'm getting. Um, and you also said that you're afraid of like what your parents will ask about the relationship. What do you mean by that?
So, um, it's, this is, I don't often tell people, but I feel like this would be, I can't really get help unless I do disclose this, but, her and I were in a relationship together, like girlfriend and girlfriend, that sort of relationship. But, it's just, I don't share that with people, a very minimal amount of people that I've told, maybe like one or two. But it's just, you know, I told you they're in the church, and that's something that I can't even imagine their reaction if they were to find out.
Um, have your parents have they ever talked about same-sex relationships, what their opinions are?
Yeah, they have expressed those quite obviously that they're not supportive of that sort of thing. They haven't, I guess, specifically said, if our child is in that sort of relationship, then, they're going to be, you know, banned from the family. But they have expressed that, it's a sin, and it's just not something normal. And, so I'm afraid how they would take it if their kid is like that. But, it's just hard to, I don't know if I'll ever be able to tell them.
No. Um, it appears that when you were talking about that, you were seemed very tense because and it seems like it's a very tough conversation to
Yeah.
discuss. Um, has how has that affected your school life?
Um, well, I don't think it has impacted it a little bit, just because, when you have to go back home for breaks and, summer break. I love going back to school because I can just, I'm not constantly worried about them or them finding out things. I can just kind of just be myself and chill at school. But then, when it gets closer to those like Christmas break, any of those, I can sense myself getting more stressed and more like like preoccupied with thoughts about going home and those sorts of worries.
So what I'm understanding is there's like a conflict of your school life compared to your when you're at home with your family. So it's causing you some distress.
Yeah. And I'm in, like I said, I'm in a lot of clubs. I rarely have free time to do anything, but I those help a lot with kind of keeping me busy and avoiding those thoughts. I'm not sure if, how often those thoughts would come up if I weren't in all of these sort of extracurricular activities.
What kind of activities are you in?
Ugh, so many. So many that I lose count of all of them. I'm in several groups for psychology, just different clubs, and I'm on a couple different like, e-boards for those. I am I did this year join the LGBT club, that sort of, group for awareness and just support. It's still new to me and it's still a little anxiety provoking going to it, but it is something that, I'm finding a little bit helpful. And like I mentioned, if, school does get moved back home due to the pandemic, I don't know if I'll be able to continue going to that club because I don't want that. I don't want to have to Zoom with them there in my house and have my family listening in, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. It's understandable. And what I'm getting to understand is that you feel like stress that because like a sense of community with LGBT group. I know it's like anxiety ridden because it's new and it's something you haven't probably never done before.
Yeah.
So, but it's like stressful. Like you're afraid that possibly that if you have to move back, then you lose that community that you started.
Hmm.
Have I know you talked about how like you don't usually talk about Olivia and in your guys' relationship and do you talk about your sexuality in the LGBT group or
I a little bit. I've mentioned that I am seeing somebody, and I don't really delve into my relationship with Olivia. Yeah, it's important, but I don't feel like it's like the main topic right now for that group. It's more just so kind of talking about, accepting the fact that I am a part of that community, but it's still kind of, I kind of noticed I sit back a lot and observe the club rather than partake in the conversation.
it's understandable. Have you ever considered um discussing things with the group or you're not comfortable yet?
Yeah, I think I'm slowly getting there, honestly. They're making it a very like comfortable space and I'm starting to get, I'm getting to know them and they're getting to know me, even though, like I said, I don't talk much. But, they're making it a very warm and welcoming place. And, you know, it just sucks thinking about being, not being a part of that or having to leave them or that kind of, situation. I've never had like, my most support has been Olivia. So it's nice just, confiding in other people who can also, have the same sort of experiences as I do.
It's always nice to have like that support system to bounce
Yeah.
things off, especially when, family is not as supportive as you want. You talk about how Olivia is your most support. Have you talked to her about the issues with your family?
Um, yeah, I have. Like I said, we've been together since high school now. So she's been kind of, my rock through all of that. But I guess, even though she can kind of agree and relate on the terms of being LG in the LGBT community, she doesn't really understand the aspect of not having accepting family or like a support group. her family's really like accepting, and they've always been really open to just, letting her be who she wants to be, and, letting her guide her own life and do what she wants. So, it is nice being able to talk about it with her, but, she can't relate on the same sort of feel that I can.
And how does that make you feel? That what, like,
Um, I don't know. I don't want to say that I resent her because I don't, but it is kind of, it's just kind of hard. I guess maybe it's jealousy is what I would be feeling, envy that she can have that, love and support. And, obviously it's something that I want, and it's tough watching other people get those sort of things, but, it's just got to be something that I have to accept. And I think maybe being in this club and coming to therapy will be able to help me sort of push those envious feelings away.
you talk about jealousy is just most likely because the conflict of like because she has a accepting family and yours is not.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's really where it stems from. I'm happy with, everything else with her, like when she succeeds in things and not doing well in school and everything. But it is, like I said, it's hard for me not to be jealous of just being relaxed with my family and being comfortable talking about myself or my partner or any of that. And just feeling comfortable going home. Like, I wish I could feel just comfortable going back home, but it sort of feels like I guess I have to be like one person at school and then a whole different person at home.
That must make you feel really tense and stressed, and it's probably
Yeah.
what's seems like it's been leading to some of your anxiety.
Yeah, it definitely makes me feel I don't know, I guess confused about myself. Definitely not confident at all in my, you know, myself.
Um, if you were to go to bed and wake up the next morning and your family was more accepting, how would things be different?
Oh boy.
I know it's probably a tough question.
It's okay. Um I think about that a lot. I just think it would be, I wouldn't have to force myself to have so many things on my plate, like club wise. Because, like I said, I just want to prove that, I'm good at school, and I'm good in my major, and, it's gonna be worth it. I feel like I wouldn't have to continuously have to make up for that. I feel like I'd be able to just, visit my family more, have a stronger support system. I just feel like, I don't know, I think it would change everything, but maybe that's just assuming that.
No, it's understandable. Well, when you say you'll change everything, what do you, what do
You
you
know, just like I think mentally for me, I'd be, more comfortable with myself. I'd be able to enjoy school, but I'd be able to, enjoy it in a way where I can freely be myself without having to change myself when I go home. Um, I just think, I'd be able to go visit Olivia whenever I wanted to, and I'd be able to kind of like make that relationship stronger. It is strong in itself, but I'm sure anybody in long distance relationships would like to see their partner at least like once a year.
it's understandable not being able to be in the same place at the same time, and
Yeah.
especially with the pandemic, it's hard to
Yeah,
over between screens.
definitely. It is nice though. Like I guess it's not nice, but it is convenient that, travel restrictions is kind of happening because it gives me an excuse to not, talk about it with her. I don't I know that comes out a little rude, but like I said, it's anxiety provoking trying to discuss with my parents about that. So it's nice just having that not be brought up. But she does bring it up like after the pandemic or, whenever that is, or just, in the future, seeing each other physically.
Mm. And how do you feel about seeing her after the pandemic?
Um, I would like to see her, but I don't know. I think the best option would be for her to, come here and visit me while I'm at school. So, she wouldn't have to stay at my parents'. I don't, that would not be an ideal situation for me at all. But, like I said, her coming here when I'm still at school, I think that would be perfect. But she's busy with her own schooling and her life there. So I don't want to, it's just hard making time. But I think I'm I don't know. I'm a little less willing to go there just because of my family issues. And I don't think she really can comprehend that.
Um, so it's more like you it seems what I'm getting is you're afraid of like having that conversation with your family about like, going to visit her, like them questioning why are you going to see
Yeah.
a girl.
Yeah. Maybe I am just, thinking a little bit more into it, but, I do know that it is for more than just a friend. And, I think maybe they would sense that because they would have to ask questions like, how long have you guys been talking or any of these things? And I don't want to have to lie to them and say like, I met him at school or something like that because I just don't, I don't feel right lying to them like that. But of course I am slightly lying to them about who I am. So it's just conflicting feelings. It's confusing.
It's understandable to feel conflicted and have anxiety because you're not as comfortable with expressing things due to like
Yeah.
familial relationships. How is your relationship with your brother going back to your family?
Um, like I said, he's kind of the I guess I don't know the word, but like the star child. He's the one everyone's always like, why don't you, your brother be the more like your brother? I guess our relationship is really neutral. Like I said, when we were younger, we kind of just had to entertain ourselves, and I would do that. He would entertain himself in his room, and I would do my own things in my room. So I don't know. I guess it's just a really just a acquaintance relationship. He and not unfortunately because anyone can believe their religion, but he follows the same beliefs as my parents. So that's kind of nerve-wracking. I don't know his thoughts on same sex or those kind of
Hmm?
ideas because I don't discuss that with him. But I'm worried that he'll still have the same beliefs because I'm sure he also wants to impress my parents.
Understand that's understandable. So it's what you're feeling is what I'm getting is you feel like conflicted too because you want to probably have want to have a good relationship with your brother and be able to have
Yeah.
like that person in your family to talk about things. So you're possibly feeling like, an outcast maybe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so how does that make you feel in terms of your relationship with your brother?
It does definitely, I think, cause a little bit of resentment for sure because I'm like, I'm doing my best to impress my parents, but sometimes it feels like it just easily comes for him because he can just, I don't know how if he even wanted to really do engineering. I don't know if he really wants to believe these things, but the thoughts that he has that are the same as my parents. I don't know if he's just doing this to impress them or if he really thinks that way and if he really wants to do those things. But if he doesn't and he's just doing this to impress them, I just kind of wonder like, how does he have, that strength to be able to just consistently go against what he feels that he wants to do.
Understandable. Have you possibly tried to broach the conversation with him about like his feelings on things?
I haven't, like I said, it was a weird just way growing up not discussing emotions or anything. So I guess I feel kind of weird asking him those things. I don't know how to approach that.
It's understandable. And if that's possibly a goal, like, to be able to like
Yeah.
conversations. We can obviously, talk about that in future sessions if you're still comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, so going back to like, you talk about clubs and stuff and things outside of school. What do you do for leisure, like to help you like de-stress?
Um, when I do, I don't get that much free time because, like I said, I
Mhm.
all these sort of activities that I guess feel more like work than leisure things. But I do like writing. I do a lot of photography. I like I just like being outdoors, doing outdoor things like hiking, walking, just anything that I can do when the weather permits, obviously.
Yeah, the weather is recent times has been a
Yeah.
little.
And the pandemic, of course, it's a little hard going out to these places without, fear of getting sick.
Mhm. So so being outside probably most likely probably helps with like, clearing your mind.
Yeah. It's nice. Oops. It's nice just I don't know, getting away from things. It is hard just kind of being with my thoughts sometimes. Like clubs and homework and all these, classes, they help with keeping me preoccupied, but um, you know, like I said, it's nice to get out, but sometimes it's a little stressful.
Well, yeah, it's very probably difficult to, get away from school life and family
Yeah.
life. And even when you're trying to, de-stress and be outside, those those thoughts are probably still in your head.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, when I go out and I am not doing something that pertains to like school or something like that, and those are my definite first thoughts.
Mhm. So, is there any like people that you talk to like in your groups and that you're in school with? Like, could you talk about your LGBT group, but like your psychology groups? Have you guys like, discussed like, how stressful school is?
Yeah, I try to stay on the topic of what the group is, but sometimes we veer off. We're students, so we're always talking about how stressful class is or just the homework load. But I think it's more of just a group acquaintance relationship rather than starting to gather like friend relationships. But
Understandable.
I think that it's starting the LGBT group that I'm in. I think that's starting to make up for the lack of um, relationships that I have in my other groups. It's hard to make friendships, like I said, but I'm trying hard with this group, and opening up with them is helping a little bit.
It's understandable. You talk about in your intake form, motivation. Can you issues without motivation? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I feel like oh boy, that it's very it's mixed. I get a lot of motivation just to do, like I said, clubs and work and as many credits as I can do, as many clubs as I can do. I'm motivated to do all those things, and you know, I feel this motivation, and then I get into all of them, and I think I put too much on my plate because then it's kind of, it's nice having my thoughts taken off of that, but now I have all these, just these stressful, things that I always have to do because I'm too motivated, I think, to do them. But then when the time comes, like I mentioned, going back home during breaks or even like summer break, I feel more motivated to get into these groups because I'm feeling so anxious. And then it just adds more to my stressors, and it's just all these things coming together, if that makes sense.
Well, that makes perfect sense. It's just like all the thoughts bubbling in your head.
Yeah.
You want to like be able to do everything
Yeah.
at once. So it's more probably like more of a time constraint situation.
Yeah. And I enjoy all of these clubs, obviously, that I'm in because I'm choosing to go into them, but I don't know if I'm doing them because I'm motivated to learn about them and I'm motivated to, build my resume, or if it's just because, I need something to take my thoughts off things. And if I join another group, that's just more work for me to think about as opposed to, my relationship with my family or that sort of thing.
Okay. Um, you also talk about possible appetite changes. Um,
Mhm.
is that like, everyday occurrence or just occasionally?
Yeah, it's not. I didn't, I wanted to circle it. I didn't think it was something that was like detrimental to me, but with how busy I am, I don't have enough time to always, sit down for a meal. So that kind of, I didn't know if that counted as an appetite change. But also when I'm, like I said, just those times of getting closer to going home, I, busy myself enough to, not even think about eating or food or any of that.
It's understandable because you're in so many groups that of your interest that sometimes it's understandable to sometimes forget to eat.
Yeah.
And so with your anxiety, is there any like, physical like symptoms? Because you talk about like heart heart palpitations and chest
Yeah.
pain. That
Yeah,
like
definitely. When those like, I guess those really spring up when I'm at home and thinking about going home, or even because when I do go home, I'm still kind of, you know, morally obligated to go to church with my family and to experience, just listening to them talk about that sort of stuff, like sinning and, same sex being sinning in their eyes. That I feel like that's when I feel like the most anxiety, or just thinking like when Olivia asks me to, plan coming out there and talking to my parents about it, that I feel like, I just get really, I don't know, like oddly like sweaty, and I just feel panicked in my chest and that sort of, those feelings.
anxiety of the unknown
Yeah.
of what could.
Yeah.
How would you describe your beliefs?
Um, growing up, I didn't really, when I was younger, I didn't really know what religion was or the beliefs of them. But growing up and, just being young in this time, I feel like my beliefs are very different from them, and I don't necessarily follow their same religion. I'm not, I'm not really even sure what my religion is at this point, or if I even really believe in one. But it is, I believe, love you, love, do what you want, all of that. And I don't think, they're very much understanding of that. I know that they firmly believe, marriage should be man, woman, have kids and, after you get married and all of that. Just a very, old school family life.
So more the heteronormative,
Yeah.
more okay. So there's probably so you're probably feeling like a conflict between how you feel and what they feel, and it's
Yeah.
causing like a lot of tension in your body, and like you said, like you get like your palms start sweating because you're considering how they're feeling with
Yeah.
how you're. What I'm getting is you're like, I don't know, like maybe like you're afraid of discussing who you are with them and possibly afraid of them finding out who you are.
Yeah, I'm definitely I know I at some point I have to figure out a way to, discuss this with them, but I'm also just, scared of the repercussions because like I said, they're my financial providers right now. I don't work. But, I'm thinking, maybe if I, start preparing for maybe if they do cut me off in that way, maybe I can, get a job or just figure out what to do in case those sort of things happen. I feel like maybe that is kind of contributing to anxiety,
And
like the unknown of what could happen.
if you feel comfortable, that could be part of, we can be things we can discuss in later sessions to be able to help you give
Yeah,
way.
I definitely think that would be something I want to touch on.
It's understandable to be like stressed out about like, the opinions of people that you have to rely on for financial or other stability.
Mhm.
So it's understandable that you're feeling like stressed out on their opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to know that, it's normal to feel this stressed out because, like I said, my brother, he just, he conforms to whatever that they want for him. And, you know, I believe that you shouldn't just conform to please everyone for their benefit.
So it's more of a, it's a conflict of, not in terms of like you're angry about it, but like,
Yeah,
it's just, it bothers you.
it
With,
does. Yeah.
and, hmm, how, do you have anyone in your family that you would be able to talk to, like outside of like your mom and your dad and your brother?
Um, I don't, but I think that maybe my brother should be the first person I kind of go to and kind of test those waters there with him. I feel like he would be the most easygoing right now instead of my parents.
It's understandable. So it's just you're also probably feeling, what I'm getting is you're feeling like afraid of like what his reaction will be, and if
Yeah.
is it like a fear that maybe tell your parents what you're saying?
Yeah, it's fear of that, fear of his rejection or his thoughts. But,
Mm.
like I said, I know that it has to come at some point because it's just gonna, keep bubbling up until, one day it spills. But I want to have, a control on what I tell them and how everything goes from there on. So I think that, I think that might be something that I really want to discuss in this session or in our future sessions because I find it's been really helpful right now just being able to talk about it and, just disclose my feelings without
Yeah.
fear of burdening my
Yeah.
my partner.
Yeah, I want to make you feel comfortable enough to like be able to discuss these things, and then eventually if you feel more comfortable, be able to discuss it to say your partner or your brother, and then maybe have their support to eventually have a conversation with your parents if it's if you feel comfortable to doing that.
Yeah, I think that, having that support of my brother would be really, and I think it would be really helpful with coming out to them about this stuff.
It probably would help with like maybe your anxiety.
Yeah, just having, just one like person on my team in my family that would, like that would be really, it wouldn't be relieving all of my stress, but it would definitely be relieving a large, portion of it.
Understandable, like because it's anxiety ridden,
Yeah.
like because I feel like you're feeling like maybe you're alone in this in the in the situation. Like,
Yeah. It does feel isolating just, knowing it's me with these thoughts. Like I said, Olivia knows this stuff, but she's not in my immediate family and she's not here experiencing it.
it's understandable because she's your experience is not her experience, so it's probably feels hard to for her to see things from your side when she's not living your truth.
Definitely.
So, we're getting close to the end of our, like, this first session. So, I'd like to talk about like your goals for future sessions. If you're still, are you still feel comfortable like working with me in the future?
I definitely do. I think that this is, I think it was a right choice to come to this, and I'm ready to.
It's good.
Yeah,
Um, you talk about like like you said, family issues and like understanding, like contributing to your mental health and like how be able to accept yourself. Is that what you still want to focus mainly on?
yeah. I think I really want to focus on just accepting myself and being able to accept my family can, and I can feel comfortable coming out to them and kind of just, if they, you know, in the worst case scenario, in case they don't accept, I would like to just still be confident in myself and not let that, impact me.
Yeah, that's understandable. Like, and then be able to, work out situations where things could be work out negatively or positively.
Yeah,
And would you also like, because you talk about like stress in school and stuff, is that something you also want to discuss further?
yeah. I think we touched a lot on it today. I just would like to not feel like I need to put myself in all of these clubs and these preoccupied situations, so I can just, enjoy school and enjoy, the clubs that I deem are the most important, and build these close relationships with friends and certain clubs.
So mostly like focusing more on like your personal your personal journey towards like accepting yourself and like maybe the like being focused on like being in so many clubs is probably stemming from the anxiety from dealing with familial issues and
Yeah,
accepting yourself. Well, I look forward to discussing things with you in the future.
I do too. Thank you for this. It's really, I think, going to be beneficial.
Yeah, and like I said, I any notes I've taken will be safely put away, and nobody what you said in this session will not be discussed with anyone else.
Definitely. Thank you for reiterating that. That really means a lot.
And I don't know if I touched on this before, but since we're on Zoom call, and then in the future, if there's a time where we get disconnected, you can email me at the email address that was on the form that you filled out before the session, and we can either discuss things through email or find another way to discuss things.
Definitely.
And I didn't bring this up before, and I probably should have, and I apologize in advance. Um, if there's a time where like we see each other like outside of this meeting, possibly, I won't approach you because of professional obligations. But if you were to say hi to me, I will say hi back.
Okay.
But just so you know,
Okay.
I will not approach you if I ever see you outside of these sessions.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate
I
it.
want to make you feel as comfortable as possible.
Thank you. I felt very comfortable in this session.
Good, I'm glad. Well, take care and have a good rest of your day. And
You
I look
too.
forward to discussing things with you in later sessions.
I do too. Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.